Hello and welcome to Jen's Ink Spot. Today I'm joining along in the Save the Crafty YouTuber video hop. This hop is a celebration of card making. All you have to do is watch, like the video, consider subscribing, and click the link in my video description below to hop to the next video. Don't forget to comment because we have tons of prizes to give away today. Here's the card that I want to show you how to make in today's video. Before I talk about how I put this card together, I want to talk about the inks that I used. These are from Catherine Pooler Designs, and they are my favorite inks ever, and I have a lot of inks. These inks are the newest colors that were just released. This is Suede Shoes. As you can see, it has a foam pad. It just inks up the stamps so nicely, stamps so vibrantly, and it's just beautiful. Here I have my piece of white cardstock already embossed. The cardstock that I used to do this technique is called Bristol Smooth Surface, and I'm using this background stamp from Catherine Pooler called Love, Doves, and Poinsettias. It is a very pretty stamp. I'm going to use this embossing powder from Wow. It's a bright white opaque superfine embossing powder. What I like about it, Wow, is that you don't have to use your embossing buddy with it because it's not supposed to stick to your cardstock. I'm also going to be using a water brush pen, and what I like about these is that the water is inside the barrel and you control how much water you want on your project by how hard you squeeze. There's a lot of hype right now about glass mats and watercoloring on glass mats, but today's technique I'm going to show you an easy way to watercolor just using your ink pad and putting the ink on your lid. I mentioned before that these Catherine Pooler ink pads have a foam pad, which makes it really easy to put ink into the lid. So here I've just dabbed a little bit of the ink into the Samba ink lid, and then I'm going to take my water brush pen, make sure it has a little bit of water, and honestly probably I should have used a little bit more water than I did for this first poinsettia, but I dip my water brush into the lid, pick up that ink, and then start coloring the image that I've embossed in white. What I like about this technique is that it's very simple to watercolor, especially without water, because what happens is it pools in your design and it creates a natural watercolor look. And I'm not very good at knowing where to shade, so I like that it just kind of does it naturally, and it just makes it look like I've worked really hard when really the water and the ink have done all the work for me. So as I need more ink, I just continue to dip the brush into the lid and pull out more ink. If I run out of ink, I'll just add some more with my ink pad, and I continue to do this. And then what I'm going to do later is I'm going to go back and I'm going to add another color on top of this, and then when I'm finished and it's dried, I can move the ink around a little bit, I can add more ink on top, and just continue to add layers of color as I'd like. It's really, really simple, and it looks like you've put a lot more work into it than what you have. So this is definitely my go-to way to watercolor, and I love the vibrancy that I get from these ink pads. It's just such a very beautiful, pretty color. Now it's time to add my second color for some depth. This is Rockin' Red, and again I'm going to put some ink into my lid. You can see that I've watercolored here before, and I was pretty much out of ink, but I added a little bit more. It'll be ready for me next time when I come back in to do this technique. Squeeze some water out, put it on my brush, and I continue to just add the layer on top. And I kind of just put it at the bottom of each of the petals, not really coloring the whole thing. As it dries, it kind of moves around a little bit, makes it a little bit more splotchy in places so that it looks more like a watercolor look. Now that I've finished my red, I'm going to start with a yellow. This is Tiara. It's a beautiful yellow. It's going to be for the centers of my poinsettias, and also there's a few tiny little flowers I'm going to add it to, and then to a little bit of the detail on the dove's wings. So just continue to apply this yellow in the same way as I did the red. Now it's time to color the greens on my card front. The leaves I'm going to color in, start with this green tea that I have here. It's a great color of green for coloring leaves. I'm going to color the holly this color, and I have again made sure to get plenty of water on my brush so that the water will pool up a little bit and create that natural watercolor look. And then after I create this color, I'm going to go in with the next color, which is Eucalyptus. It's a slightly darker color, but they blend really well together. I'm going to pool that on top, and Then I'm going to color some of the other leaves in eucalyptus and add spruce on top of that. And then some of the other leaves I'm just going to do spruce all by itself. So there's 3 different colors, but because of the way the water moves around, it's going to look like there's more colors at play here in this card front than just those 3. It's one great thing about this technique. Here's where I start with my second layer of green, which is eucalyptus, and I'm just going to show you just kind of quickly how I do this. You can see it goes on, it looks like it's really dark, but once it dries it just really blends in nicely. You'll see from the finished card that I'll show you at the end of this video. I'm not trying very hard to color in any specific area, but just kind of put some of it on top, and then the water really does the rest. It moves it all around and makes that natural artistic look. Off camera, I continued coloring some of the leaves in eucalyptus. Now I'm going to go with spruce, and I again put the ink in my lid. I'm going to add some of the spruce on top of the eucalyptus leaves that I just colored, same way that I did with my holly, and then I'm also going to color some of the leaves just spruce by itself. And even though it's just the one color, like what I'm doing here, once it dries, because of, again, I know I say this over and over again, but because of the way that the water pools up, it creates that kind of a shadow, darker shading look. And again, you'll see that when you see the final product, but here I'm adding it right on top of a leaf that I've colored in eucalyptus just to give it a little bit more depth of color. So it really depends on what kind of look you want, how much ink you add. You can continue adding layers after it dries if you'd like. You can continue adding layers while it's wet. It's just such a pretty look when you complete your card front, and it goes relatively fast. I'm adding some final details to my card. I'm taking the Samba ink pad and I'm coloring in all the little dots from the different berries and the different leaves, and just adding in a little more detail. It really helps the card to pop, fills in some of the empty spaces a little bit, and then I'll add a little rockin' red on top of that to give it a little more depth. For the doves in the card, I decided that I wanted to use a shimmer pen, glitter pen, to color them, and this is going to make them a little bit of gray glitter, add a little bit more color to the card than just leaving them white, but not so bright that it overshadows everything else. I have a strip here that I've die cut with Lil Inker Designs Long and Skinny Rectangles dies, and I stamped it with All the Christmas You'll Ever Need stamps. It's the Wishing You a Joyous Holiday Season image that I really like from that set. I'm going to adhere that strip onto my card front, and then I'm going to add a few sequins to finish off my card. Here you can see the finished card, you can see the glitter from the doves, and you can see how the watercolors have dried to make its own natural shading. Thank you for joining me today on Jen's Ink Spot. Don't forget to comment because we have tons of prizes to give away from our fabulous sponsors. On my blog, just for commenting, you can win 2 inks from Catherine Pooler Designs, which are the inks I used in my video today. All the details will be found below in my video description. Thank you again for joining me. I hope you have a great day.